Hey everyone, I have a little sketchbook tour for you today. I started this around the end of 2021 and finished it around the end of 2022 or so. So I wasn't using a sketchbook that frequently at the time. My normal sketching paper is this Borden and Riley Paris paper for pens, which is not a sketchbook, just a tape-bound pad of paper. But I had started carrying this around with me on trips and stuff like that for convenience. This is a Strathmore 400 series watercolor sketchbook. It's about 8.5 by 6 inches. And let's take a look. This first drawing was based on a vintage photo that I found online of Kew Gardens, Queens, in the 1950s, I believe. I remember I struggled with the line of cars here, getting these cars lined up in this perspective. But it is kind of fun how sort of wonky they are too. Like they're falling off the street or something almost. This one again is from another vintage photo. This one of Forest Hills, Queens, 108th Street and 64th Road. I liked the signage and the typography and the advertisements. And I always like being able to practice drawing crowds, so this was good for that. And I like this small child wandering off by itself there. This one is the West Village in New York. I think this is the Little Owl restaurant on Grove and I believe Bedford. And we have another wandering child over here, just staring at this tree. This one, so we're still in New York here. This is the Boilermaker, or just Boilermaker. It's on 1st Street and 1st Ave. We were here around the holidays, 2021. And this place was having like a pop-up Sippin' Santa type thing. And you can see I did sort of a vertical spread here. I like these leaves. I like these windows. And then right around this gray section, this kind of throws everything off, I think, and divides this top section from the bottom in sort of a weird way. Maybe I can go in and just sort of paint over this, but I probably won't do that. I remember starting to lay down this gray and realizing it wasn't working, but just kind of committed and wrote it out. But anyway, Tiki bar on the Upper West Side, I think, called Tiki Chick, where we met up with some friends. This is my sister-in-law's apartment building in Queens. We're waiting for an Uber, so we're heading back to Atlanta now. I like the heavy contrast in this one. I'm sure, again, here I was probably unsure about laying down this black, but in this case it was the right choice. Otherwise, all this line work just starts to sort of melt together and you can't make out different parts of the scene. Okay, here is First Street and First Avenue again, but this time we're looking southeast, so we're facing away from the Boilermaker. And I'm being careful here to leave some nice white space around and throughout this sketch. So on one hand, I was probably being too precious and reserved, a little fearful of overdoing it maybe. But also the unfinishedness of it kind of lets you flow in and out of the picture plane here, which is kind of nice. So this is on the plane. I remember I was watching the documentary Street Gang about Sesame Street, which is a great movie and a great book. So we have some Muppets up here, the Beatles singing the letter B song. Here is Kermit and Mr. Johnson doing a little who's on first kind of routine, I think, with the letter Y. Here is Bob McGrath, who passed away a few months ago, and he's doing the famous People in Your Neighborhood song. And here is Stevie Wonder and Grover doing 1, 2, 3 Sesame Street. And yeah, I'm on a flight from LA to Atlanta for a work trip, I believe. Coming home from a work trip. These are from another documentary I watched on that same flight. So I think I was just pausing and sketching and then playing some more of the movie and then pause and sketch. This movie was The Booksellers, about book collectors and the eccentric sort of people in the world of rare book collecting in New York. So he's holding up a giant book saying they're all parchment or vellum leaves. So Books Are Magic. It's a bookstore in Brooklyn. In Cobble Hill, I believe. Also from the movie. And then this guy is saying, that's real mammoth hair from 15,000 years ago. Showing his scrapbook. We have some flying books. And this guy, he's saying, I'm one of several people who have handled books bound in human skin. And he's very proud of that. As he should be, I suppose. This was at the Georgia Renaissance Fair last spring or summer, I believe. I was drawing on location. I remember this girl noticed me from afar, drawing her. She was selling fairy gardens. Here are some of the shops. Ye old clothing shops. This is actually when I started using a fountain pen. So all the stuff up until I believe this point is just like fine liners, felt tips, microns, and things like that. So okay. This was at the Southeastern Railway Museum in Duluth, Georgia. It's sort of a graveyard for old trains and buses. It's pretty awesome. It's a great place to spend the day drawing. This was June 12th, 2022. I know I did more on this day. I think I did more drawings in my other paper pad from this day, and I think I might have sold a couple of them. This is my wife ascending the subway stairs. Nikki B ascending a staircase. I guess this was from an older photo that I took when we were still living in Brooklyn. It's another one where I wasn't sure about what exactly should be solid black and what should be white. Probably the doorway behind her should have been black, but then her edges would have disappeared around her hair there. Anyway, I think this came out kind of cool with the stairs there. This was at the Georgia Aquarium. I was in a huge, dark room, and I remember really struggling to see what I was doing. And I used a water brush pen to drop some water on this and get this sort of spreading watercolor bleed effect. Here's another flight. I'm watching Funny Face. This time I'm flying from Atlanta to San Diego. So this was last year, Tiki Oasis. We were on our way to San Diego for Tiki Oasis. This is supposed to be Audrey Hepburn. How long has this been going on? And this is upside down for some reason. Some of the fashion magazine ladies from that movie. And still from Funny Face, this is from Think Pink, the song sequence from the movie, which was very cool. I probably should have had these trails go a little further to justify using this whole spread, but it's kind of fun. Same flight, I believe, and I've moved on. No, this would have been on the flight home from San Diego, and I'm watching Pixar movies. I think this was the first time that I saw the movie Ratatouille. This was at the Sleepy Hollow Corn Maze Pumpkin Patch Hayride place. October last year. This was a little general store where I got some apple cider. Tractor, still from the corn maze. This is from the Halloween parade in Atlanta in Little Five Points. October 23rd last year. And this float was some kind of a cult theme. And they had this giant eyeball on the top of this pickup truck. This is East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, last November. we were there for Thanksgiving, and we walked around this nice little downtown area. They had this nice old theater marquee here. I think it said Rob Schneider. So I left that out. Okay. This was with the Urban Sketchers Atlanta group. We were at the Oakland Cemetery here in Atlanta, which is a very big cemetery, a historic landmark with lots of great oak trees and mausoleums like this. I remember I stretched this one out vertically quite a bit in order to make this a vertical spread. And I'm using oil-based markers here, which I find work well for more representational sort of urban sketching type stuff. Less graphic, less cartoony. I have a lot of nice sort of earthy colors in these oil-based markers, Copic markers. This was December 3rd, 2022. So it started to rain, and my ink isn't waterproof, clearly, but it works out well for the subject matter, I think. I remember everyone started leaving. There's usually like a throwdown at the end of these urban sketching meetups, where everyone meets back up and shows their work and takes pictures. I was looking for everyone for a while before I figured out that they had all gotten in their cars and gone home. This is at the Fernbank Museum here in Atlanta. They had the Aglow exhibit, I think it was called, where the woods kind of come to life and light up. I didn't really draw those effects. I just I suddenly liked this view of the museum from the woods, from this sort of nature walk area. And I drew this while waiting for lunch at the Corner Tavern in Little Five Points, Atlanta. Being careful not to stare too much at this couple while I'm drawing them. And after the Corner Tavern, I kind of just sat on the sidewalk here and drew the shops. And I remember I went to the record store right over here, Criminal Records, right here, and I got Bell and Sebastian Late Developers, and I believe a Stan Getz record. And that's it. Now I have a new sketchbook. It is a little bigger. This one is a Koval Pro 100% cotton. Which I'm using more frequently than I was using this other one. So I'll see you in a few months when this one is done and we can flip through this one. All right. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.